The victims of human trafficking carry the experience, the trauma with them for the rest of their lives. Teresa Flores is a survivor of human trafficking. She has become a victim's right advocate and wrote a book, in fact, about her experience. You see it here on the screen. It's called The Slave Across the Street. Teresa joins us now from Indianapolis. Teresa, thanks so much for being on the show today to kind of open our eyes to this horrific problem we have here in the U.S. Now, let's start here. 31 years ago, you were trapped as a sex slave. How did that happen?
I just, came from a normal family, lived in the suburbs, and was targeted by a group of older guys, some which went to my high school. And for about 6 months, they would just be really nice to me and offer me, to carry my books and just, really nice things. Say, you look pretty today. And here I am 15, so, just loving any kind of positive male attention I could get. And about 6 months later, one of the guys asked me if I wanted a ride home from school. And I just jumped at the chance because by then I had a crush on him. And I thought everything would be fine. But he didn't take me home. He ended up taking me to his house. And, I had a weird feeling inside. Mm-hmm. And he said, would you like to come in? I'm like, no, I'm good. And he's like, but I like you. And so he ended up offering me a pop that was laced with something, and I got drugged and raped. And that led to actually 2 years of becoming their sex slave because they had taken pictures of it. And then decided they were going to blackmail me with those.
Oh my gosh. And as a young girl too, I'd imagine that would, you think about photographs and all that kind of stuff. What in the world, did you just wake up and wonder where in the world you were?
Yeah, they allowed me to live at home during this time, so they would take me out at night, and which was just another way to keep me in control, because then they watched my family. They threatened to kill my family if I didn't obey them. And the whole time trying to earn back these pictures and them saying, oh, next time, we'll give them to you, next time. And in the meantime, they were making quite a lot of money from this.
So you were staying at home while they're doing this to you at night. Are you going to school with them? Yeah. You said you knew them from high school?
Yeah, I actually would get taken out of my house. They would call and say, come now. And it would be around midnight. And I would sneak out and then go to these very elite, beautiful homes where they would take me to, and taken to basements and taken and locked away in a bedroom and just wait for each man to come. Wow. And then they'd take me home around 3 or 4 in the morning, and I would go to sleep for a few hours and get up for school the next day and do it all over again.
I have to imagine, what in the world your parents must have thought when you would just disappear like this. Is this a situation? Obviously, you finally escaped. How did that happen?
Actually, they had kidnapped me one night and taken me to an inner city Detroit motel where about 20 men waited for me, and I was 16 or 17. And they left me there. And I think they had full intention of coming back to get me, but never returning me home again. And when I woke up, I got out of there and just started walking. And luckily, a waitress in a little diner noticed me and asked me if I needed help, and she called the police. So that led to my family then being able to move really far away from there without anybody knowing.
It's amazing that you're able to talk about this. I can't imagine what it would have been to go through something like that. What's your recovery been like? How long has it taken?
Long. It's been 30 years, thankfully. And it took a long time to even find a counselor that knew human trafficking, post-traumatic stress, Stockholm syndrome, anything like that. It took a really long time to find somebody that would even let me say my story from the beginning to the end. So it's just been really recently, maybe the last 5, 6 years, that I've gotten good counseling. But it's been a long, long recovery.
And why did you decide to speak out about this and share your story with us?
Because for so many years, I thought that I was the only one that something like this happened to. And then as I became educated on human trafficking and learned more about it, I learned that this was the second leading crime in the U.S. and that there were hundreds of thousands of Teresas out there.
It's really like America's little dirty secret that now we're just taking the lid off of it. And we really appreciate you really bringing this to light. You founded an organization called SOAP. Tell us about that.
Right. It stands for Save Our Adolescents from Prostitution. And I realized on my worst night, when I had been taken to that motel and left for dead, that I really could have used somebody to talk to. And these girls don't know they're a human trafficking victim. They don't know there's a hotline number out there. And so I decided that I was going to get them this phone number so that they could talk to somebody in their worst moment, which is generally in the motels where they're being sold over and over again. So we gather together hundreds of volunteers all across the country during big sporting events, and we take little bars of soap and we get them to put labels on them, and then we mobilize them and we send them out to motels and start a conversation with the motel owners about, have you seen these missing kids? You know, please put this poster up, and if you see anybody come through here, here's a phone number for you to call, and then we give them the free soap. So hopefully the girls will see that when they're in the motels.
So it happens a lot at motels, is what I'm assuming then.
Yeah, they're sold online on the internet, and then they meet the guys, and they're taken and just really locked away in these motels to service the men all night long.
Yuck. So I know you've been working really hard to change the lives of other women who've been through something similar to you. How many missing children have been rescued from your efforts, would you say?
We have at least one missing girl identified from every single outreach that we do, from the posters, just from the motel staff. And for events like the Super Bowl that we always go to, we have on average 6 to 8 girls initially that are rescued that weekend right then and there. But then after that, I mean, they can take that sticker off the bar of soap, and they can put it in their shoe, and they can call a week later, a month later, whenever they're able. So we know the phone calls to Polaris Project also double anytime that we're in a city doing an outreach.
I love that you're doing something positive with the pain that you've gone through. And I know that you have a relationship with the family of Gina DeJesus, one of the women who was rescued in Ohio this week. How did that all come about, that you knew each other? I was asked last year to be the keynote speaker at an annual human trafficking event in Cleveland. And there's a collaborative initiative to end human trafficking there. And I did my story. I shared with the audience, you know, what had happened and what I'm doing now. And Gina DeJesus' mom and aunt were there. And they came up to me afterwards and just gave me the biggest hug and said thank you. And I think it gave them hope to know that once their daughter is found, and they're like, we're going to find her, that she eventually, when she got older, could be, you know, a role model for others and could be healed enough to have a family like I do. So I think it gave them a lot of hope. And at that moment I told them, you know, we're going to put her picture on every missing children's poster that we give out across the country, because we are going to find her. And that's not how she was found, but it was amazing, I think, for them to know that we cared. And we did that. When Charlotte in Tampa, we put her picture on every poster. Well, Teresa, thank you so much for your work. Teresa Flores, her book is The Slave Across the Street. Check it out.